Who needs enemies when you have a best friend who is a killer? Add to that a case of drug abuse, and you know it makes for an exciting episode. Take a look to know more. 1st January 2020. People across the country were still ringing in the new year. But Hassan witnessed a brutal murder that night. The victim's body was only found the next day on the 2nd of January. The body was found in the compound of a quiet building. The housekeeping staff of the building had found the body lying in this state and had called the cops. The cops who came to the spot were shocked to see the blood stains around the body. One look at it and they knew it was a case of murder. The cops brought in their forensic team and their dog squad to swipe for vital clues at the crime scene. But they couldn't find much. In fact, the cops had not even been able to identify the victim.
Second January 2020 ಆ ದಿನ ಒಂದು ಬಾಡಿ ಹಿಮಸಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿತ್ತು. ಆ ಏರಿಯಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಹಾಸನ್ ನಗರ ಠಾಣೆ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡಲೇ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ನವರು ಹೋಗಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಯಾರೋ ಅನ್ನೋನ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಅಂತ 25 to 35 ಏಜ್ ವಯಸ್ಸದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಲ್ಲು ಹಾಕಿ ಮರ್ಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದರು.
The cops acted according to procedure. They sent images of the accused to all the groups that they had. They verified missing complaints in the surrounding police stations. Finally, the image had reached the victim's family and the cops got a call confirming that the victim was a 27-year-old man named Chandan. Chandan's family had not filed a missing complaint, hoping that he would return in a few days. But after they had seen the image, they knew it was him who had been killed. They went to the police station and claimed his body. They finished his last rites too.
ಅದನ್ನು ಕೂಡಲೇ ನಮ್ಮನವರು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಅವನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಹಂಜಿಹಳ್ಳಿ ಗ್ರಾಮದ ಚಂದನ್ ಅವರ ಹೆಸರು. ಬಟ್ ಅದನ್ನು ಯಾರು ಮರ್ಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಹೇಗೆ ಮರ್ಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇದು ಏನು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವು ಕೂಡಲೇ ಒಂದು ಮರ್ಡರ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಹಾಸನ್ ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮತ್ತು DYSP ಪುಟ್ಟಸ್ವಾಮಿ ಗೌಡ ಮತ್ತು ಹಾಸನ್ ರೂರಲ್ ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಸತ್ಯನಾರಾಯಣ ಲೀಡರ್ಶಿಪ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಟೀಮ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ಮರ್ಡರ್ ಕೇಸ್.
By then, the cops too had started investigating the case. Once they had found the identity of the victim, they had quite a few leads to follow. They asked the family members if they suspected anyone. The family told them that Chandan had left his house on New Year's Eve. They told the cops that Chandan had gone with a friend named Nayan. The cops could not ask the family much as they were still in grief. But based on the suspicion they had against Nayan, they summoned him to the police station. Nayan told the cops that Chandan had been working in Bengaluru. Chandan had been driving a goods auto to earn money. But after his father had fallen ill, Chandan had come back to Hassan. Chandan was a good man, but he was addicted to drugs. Chandan and Nayan had several tips regarding who would procure the drugs and who would pay for it. But Nayan told the cops the fights were never serious enough, that one of them could kill the other. Nayan told the cops that Chandan had in fact left with him to take part in a small rave party on the 31st of December. But even before they reached their party, Chandan had got a phone call and he had left. Nayan was too intoxicated to follow his friend. The cops checked out Nayan's alibi and found that it was solid. But Nayan was going to be the key of the cops were going to crack this case. So they told him that he would have to come to the police station whenever he was summoned. Nayan expresses suspicion on another man. Chandan's sister had reportedly fallen in love with the man. After Chandan had warned the man to stay away from his sister, the man had committed suicide. Chandan had been arrested for abetment of suicide. But the two families had compromised just a few days before the murder. Chandan had paid the family and apologized. Was it possible that the family was not happy with Chandan's apology and settlement that they killed him? The cops investigated this angle too, but they realized their second suspect had a good alibi too. Now the cops had hit another roadblock. They were out of leads, so they accessed Chandan's phone records. They found that Chandan had got several missed calls from a man named Timmappa. Timmappa was Chandan's best friend, but something was peculiar about Timmappa's whereabouts. He was Chandan's best friend, but he was absent when Chandan had died. The cops asked the family if they suspected Timmappa, but the family told them that Timmappa could never do something like that. But the cops had to act on the hunch they had. After all, it was the only lead that they had now. They tried calling Timmappa's phone, but they realized that it was switched off. They grew more suspicious and started tracking his phone. They found that Timmappa had switched off his phone on the 1st of Jan. What was more shocking was that the cops had found Timmappa's phone signal at the crime scene where Chandan was found dead. They were sure Timmappa was the killer and started a manhunt to nab him. 10 days later, they found Timmappa in the outskirts of Hassan and brought him to the police station. They grilled Timmappa, but Timmappa was prepared for the interrogation. He had falsified the perfect alibi. He had even practiced what he had to say. He was giving the cops a tough time. The cops too were not willing to let go, as they knew he was the killer, trying to mislead the investigation with a false alibi. But the cops are trained to handle such situations, and they got an expert interrogator to get a confession from Timmappa. Their plan had worked before long. Timmappa confessed to killing his best friend. Yes, Timmappa had in fact killed his best friend. Chandan had reportedly borrowed a sum of 50,000 rupees from Timmappa. When Timmappa had asked him to return the money, he had failed to do it. Chandan had in fact threatened to kill Timmappa if he asked him for the money again. So Timmappa had decided to teach his best friend a lesson. He knew Chandan had a weakness for consuming drugs. He called Chandan and told him that he had drugs and called him to party. Chandan had got sloppy after consuming the drugs. When Chandan passed out, Timmappa took him to the crime scene here and bludgeoned him to death. He had then escaped and was hiding on the outskirts of Hassan, but the cops had managed to crack the case and arrest Timmappa. They had even got a confession from him.
ಯಾರ್ಯಾರ ಮೇಲೆ ಸಂಶಯ ಇದ್ದು ಅದನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲನೂ ವೆರಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಿನ್ನೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಅದೇ ಊರು ಹಾಜಿಹಳ್ಳಿ ಊರು ಅವರ ಹೆಸರು ತಿಮ್ಮಪ್ಪ, ಅವರ ಮೇಲೆ ಸಂಶಯ ಇತ್ತು. ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದು ಎಂಕ್ವೈರಿ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅವರು ಒಪ್ಪಿದ್ದರು. ಅವರು ಏನು 50,000 ಏನು ಹಣ ಅವರು ಚಂದನ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ. ಮತ್ತು ಚಂದನ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಥ್ರೆಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದರು. ಸೊ ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಅವರೇ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಚಂದನ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಒಂದು ಕಲ್ಲು ಎತ್ತಾಕಿ ಮರ್ಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಥರ ಅವರು ಒಪ್ಪಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಜುಡಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಕಸ್ಟಡಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀವಿ.
When Chandan's family found out that Timmappa had killed Chandan, they could not believe it. They are asking the cops to investigate if Timmappa is telling them the truth. They trusted Timmappa and treated him like a family member, but he turned out to be Chandan's killer. He will be behind bars for a long time now. Manjunath KB for News 9, Hassan.